Newspapers. The big story today, that fatal shooting in Washington, D.C., isn't it, Flo?
Absolutely. For now, it remains quite factual, but we can take a look at just some of the articles that are coming out. If we take a look at the Huffington Post, for instance, they talk about this Navy Yard massacre. And in fact, they have some eyewitnesses accounts from within this building 197. For instance, they interview a Navy commander who was in the building. He talks about evacuating, thinking it was just a normal fire alarm. And then all of a sudden, he was in the street running for his life. The man actually running next to him was shot in the head. He says he actually never saw the shooter, but describes these chaotic scenes around him.
And the paper's been trying to piece together really a little bit of a profile about this man.
That's right. It's a developing story, obviously, so you have to be careful about the details, the sources. But Slate gives some sort of a snapshot, what we know or what we think we know about Aaron Alexis, the fact that, he was a Navy reservist. He was arrested twice for gun-related offenses. He was a Buddhist. He may have suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder because he claimed that he helped in the September 11th rescue. Now, his motive is unclear for now, if it was indeed him, the shooter, but a lot of police and FBI agents are visiting his family, actually, to try to get more information about him. He's a native of Queens in New York City, and a lot of journalists, including NBC here, goes to visit his family to see just what could have pushed him to do this. They say they're shocked and never saw this coming. And indeed, a lot of friends of his that were interviewed also says this was very uncharacteristic of him.
And a lot of the papers also saying that once again it raises the thorny issue, if you like, of gun control.
That's right. There's a piece in the Washington Post by Petula Dvorak, and she talks about yet another rampage. How can our country tolerate another mass shooting after we've endured so many others? Virginia Tech, Fort Hood, Newton, and now Washington. Each time we wonder whether this shooting will finally wake us up from our numb indifference, she says. But instead, these kind of slaughters are becoming routine, and it seems we only get upset because of the very serious ones, and she calls them some serious gun control in the United States.
Let's turn to something else. Syria, still in the newspapers, of course.
That's right. Let's take a look at the front page of L'Orient Le Jour, the Lebanese paper, which talks about the UN's scathing report on the chemical weapons in Syria. The International Herald Tribune, meanwhile, looks at Obama's strategy in all this and says that this recent Russian-American deal gives him some breathing space, but the list of things that could go wrong is long and daunting, and it seems, according to the International Herald Tribune, like the Obama administration doesn't really have a clear plan B. If this plan doesn't work out, it seems like Obama doesn't really have that much wiggle room because Congress seems very divided on the issue. And the International Herald Tribune points out that the White House seems to be trying to change the subject and turn to other issues like the economy.
And finally, Flo's pulled this piece out from the International Herald Tribune. It's focusing on the emotional legacies of the Vietnam War.
That's right. It's a really interesting article I recommend reading in the International Herald Tribune about the flesh and blood legacy of the Vietnam War, a legacy that's actually often forgotten, and that's the fate of children that U.S. servicemen had with women in Vietnam during the war there. Now, according to estimates, some tens of thousands of American servicemen had children with Vietnamese women. Now, some of them were the result of long relationships, actually, in Vietnam, something that the International Herald Tribune points out would be some sort unthinkable, unimaginable for veterans from the Iraq or Afghanistan wars because interactions with locals during those wars were so minimal. But in Vietnam, there were all these children who were born. Now, it seems like for a lot of these veterans and a lot of what these children, they're known as what are they, American Asians, that's what they're called. It seems like a lot of them are trying to find each other now because a lot of the veterans are entering retirement. It seems like they want to heal the wounds of the past while their children are in their 30s. And because of the harsh treatment they received in Vietnam, they have actually a special immigrant status in the United States. So they come back to the United States, try to find their parents, and every now and then you do get some sweet stories of reunification, but unfortunately they're very rare.
Sounds interesting. International Herald Tribune for that one. Flo, thanks very much, Flo Villemere, with the international papers on France 24. Stay with me for the next half hour. All the latest news, of course. Also, Champions League previews in the sport. And in focus, an incredible report today. We're going to be showing you the misery of Syrians in Egypt as they accuse some media of whipping up hysteria against them. It's all coming up in the next half hour.